Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, they think that we just forget and move on. As if the news cycle shifts, the issues in politics change slowly over time, the conversation in general moves on, and they think that they can use this, that over time you'll forget about their hypocrisies, you'll forget about their lies, and they'll simply get away with it. But unfortunately, that's no longer the way it works. In the new age of the internet, pretty much everything said lives forever. And then you got people like me who obsess over the stuff. And so I guess the point is, what my message is to the Biden administration, to Democrats at large, we don't forget. We remember. I remember when Joe Biden and Jen Psaki and the rest of you Democrats, back when Joe Biden was first inaugurated, you kept saying that this administration was going to be the most transparent in American history. That's a quote. The most transparent in American history. We didn't forget that promise. A promise so clearly betrayed. It's time to expose these liars and cheats. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so the most transparent in American history, huh? Well, if that was the case, then what exactly is this that I'm hearing about a radio host getting fired for colluding with the Biden White House ahead of an interview? Here's the headline: Biden radio interview scandal escalates as host is fired for allowing White House to send scripted questions, even though president still made major gaffe. Here's Andrea Lawful Sanders telling the story.
You asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House, but they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or did you have, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either view. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's coming.
The most transparent White House in American history. Yeah, nothing says transparent like refusing to take actual genuine questions or engage in any proper interview. Nothing screams transparency like Joe Biden engaging in a fraction of press conferences and media interviews compared to his predecessors. Yeah, totally transparent. Joe Biden never does interviews, but when he does, he makes sure that they're pre-rehearsed and scripted. Essentially, he doesn't engage in interviews, he only engages in state-sponsored propaganda. What an absolute farce. They're trying so hard to rig this thing, folks. Every time you turn on the TV, it's all you can see. I mean, we all know what happened during that debate night in late June, but despite that, despite the reality of the situation, anytime you turn on the TV, you turn on CNN, it's nothing but panel discussions and focus groups with people who are still totally on board with old creepy Joe.
After the debate, who do you trust more to run this country?
I mean, if I had to choose a person just strictly based off the debate, then of course it would be Biden.
Do you all think this was one bad night for Biden, or is this beyond repair?
Time will tell.
I don't think it's beyond repair for Biden.
So do any of you think Biden should drop out?
I don't think he should drop out because he is just a better human being than any other option that we have.
So at this point, drop out and replace him with who? He has momentum going, and if Biden drops out at this point, I think it's just a lose for the entire party.
Because last we spoke, you said, I'm going to watch this debate, and I think that's going to help me. Did it help you get any closer to deciding on a candidate?
I mean, it helped me to X out one a bit more.
And who would that be?
That would be Trump.
It's all theater, it's all orchestrated. The voters speak. Where do you think they're getting these voters? They're probably plucking them out of the live audience at The View. Yes, perfect. Now tell the viewers just how horrible and racist Donald Trump is. You see it everywhere. It's the kind of thing that once you see once, you start to notice it everywhere. We saw the BBC engage in the same kind of tactic against Nigel Farage last week, ahead of the much anticipated 2024 UK election.
What is it about you and your party that attracts racists and extremists, whether you say you want them or not?
Yeah, I mean, I know some of my friends, they have start-up companies, but none of them employ a a whole slew of massive racists like you.
Just listen to you talk about how the establishment are against you and how everything's a conspiracy theory. Why can't you accept that it's your violent racist rhetoric that's causing this? And it's not an establishment that's against you.
I'm sorry, that is.
They freaking stacked the deck. Boy, do the Democrats love stacking. They want to stack the Supreme Court. They love stacking these crowds with a bunch of raging leftoids. Anything for a freaking cheap victory. Anything to produce the results without actually having to do the damn work. These Democrats up to the same old shenanigans. They want control so badly, I mean, it's sickening. Of course, the Democrat kryptonite. Having to answer questions honestly. Open dialogue. As we know, sunlight's the best disinfectant. Democrats operate in a world of shadows. A world of smoke. Smoke bombs. Distractions. They want to create a smokescreen. And that's what they're doing with these Biden quote-unquote interviews. They only want Joe in very controlled environments where they know exactly what's being asked. Because they know they have way too many skeletons in the closet, and if they were in a situation where they were being confronted on those skeletons, if they had to actually answer, explain, and justify, well, it'd be game over. That's why they only want questions about Joe Biden's legislative track record, the infrastructure bill. Didn't you know Joe Biden passed the infrastructure bill? Somebody who's senile could never do that. They want to distract you with that nonsense, but what the people really want is some real transparency, aka a cognitive exam and frankly a friggin' drug test. I think what the people really want is more of this.
CNN's chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, is calling on President Joe Biden to undergo cognitive testing and share his results with the American people after what he calls, quote, concerning behavior at last week's presidential debate.
Now, if he were my patient, if he were my dad, frankly, I would want to get more testing done. Cognitive testing and more detailed movement disorder testing as well. Now, you've heard, Fred, what the White House has said about this. They say, look, it was a bad night for him. He had had late nights, he had had jet lag, he had a cold. We heard he wasn't taking any medications for that. And those things can cause temporary brain fog, if you will. Mm-hmm. But again, this idea, are we looking at episodes of something? Or is this a condition that should be more fully investigated? And it really seems to be more of the latter. And I'll point out as well that, you've heard about these cognitive tests, such as the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. We were told President Trump has had that done twice. It did not appear, at least in the medical records, that President Biden had that done. And when the White House was asked about it, essentially the response was, the doctors say it's not necessary.
The people have serious concerns of Joe Biden's obvious health issues, and we're also learning from an exclusive New York Post report that President Biden's physician met with a Parkinson's disease specialist in the White House recently. That really would explain an awful lot. I've dealt with a couple individuals who have had Parkinson's over the years, and I have to admit Joe Biden's distinct shuffle really rings similar when I think about it. But anyways, the point is, the people want answers. They want Joe Biden to prove to them that he's okay. They want a real medical examination, not the partisan report that Joe Biden's totally fine. They want an independent review, and the people obviously want to know that their president is competent. They want him to do the Montreal cognitive exam, just like Donald Trump did. And that right there, essentially, in essence, the truth, that is what they're so scared of. That's why they act in this manner, and of course, they're such liars and such hypocrites when they claim to be honest or transparent. They're anything but. The truth is their enemy, and that's why they've been telling you for the last 4 years that Joe Biden is in tip-top shape. Absolute frickin' liars. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.